Welcome to Alberto's Universe. This is Ascension Chronicles number 7. Memory. We are time travelers. One of the fascinating aspects of being human is that, one, we hold memories, and two, that we can also recall them. Which is why the idea of living without being able to remember and or recall those memories on command is too much for us to bear. Alzheimer's makes us all tremble. The disease represents a radical departure from being human. It removes an essential part of who we are. In this section, I will bring aspects of our memory that go beyond the generally accepted scientific structure. Most interesting, perhaps, is that these concepts will seem magical to many, which is fine. To those of us in the path to ascension, magic is not a thing that we run away from. Instead, we seek magical experiences. First, let us analyze what memory is. In our daily lives, we talk about things like the phone's memory, the computer's memory, etc., etc. But is that what memory is? Are we assuming that in order to be memory, a device must hold what we actively, purposefully, intently encoded in it? If so, then what about the ring marks that grow concentric as a tree becomes older and larger? When you cut across a tree trunk, you will find that the wood has all these darker rings followed by lighter rings organized in a concentric form. Scientists have decided that these rings represent areas of rapid and slow growth for the tree, and that they correlate to weather and climatic circumstances. These rings serve as an evidential recording of the environmental changes experienced by the tree within its ecosystem. Could we say that the tree holds memory at its core? Aren't such rings holding historical information, independent of whether we intended to encode it or not? You see, even if no human put the information there, trees hold a memory of the past. The same could be said about the ice below Antarctica and the layers of rock below any continent. These layers also hold a memory. This is a fact. Today and in the past, even during times when we were unable to read information held in such subsoil archives. So looking around, you should find a plethora of places and things that hold some kind of memory. Do fingernails hold memory? Does memory foam hold a memory, albeit a temporary one? Do the clothes in your closet hold memory? Does an LP, a long play record, hold music? Does it hold memory, or both? A typical LP from the 60s took less than a week to be completely produced and edited. However, no matter how much time has passed, we're still able to listen to what the recording studio microphones captured half a century ago. A long play record or a compact disc, for a modern version, take us back in time to the recording session. So the answers are yes, 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 and yes. Every one of these holds memory. In fact, we should learn that the universe itself has a way to hold memory. Some people call it the Akashic Records. But the name creates the impression that there is a kind of library that has to first be actively filled by someone, then be actively organized by someone else, and finally, that there is a person who helps us guide towards the information we need. This is wrong. The universe holds memory. It creates its Akashic records automatically and without help. By the fact that we exist, we become encoded in the Akashic records. The same for Gaia, Earth. The same for anything else in the galaxy. The same for our souls and for all other energies. We could say that the Akashic records are the memory of the whole of God's work, past, present, and future, here and everywhere. Let me explain further. In quantum science, it is understood that time and space are no more than interpretations of the energetic state of things. The same goes for particles, cells, and all the matter that we observe. This is because everything in the universe is formed by energy and energy only. So, if all the universe is energy, why does a car look and behave differently than I do? Well, what separates the energy of a car and that of a person is the vibrational state of the energy. Frequency is the difference. In other words, we do not observe water in mountains. Instead, we only observe the frequency of water in mountains. We then interpret the resonant frequency as if it is water and mountains. As energy resonates, it becomes an electron. As it adds further resonances to its fundamental frequency, it is attracted to other particles to form an atom. As it adds additional resonances, the atom appears in our planet. As it adds more resonances, it materializes here today. This means that, just like the tuning of a violin, the subtle changes in tonal energy represent substantial changes to what we experience. Think about it. The only difference between a diamond and pencil lead is that a diamond holds 1 quanti more of energy. 1 quanti is the smallest increase in energy. This means that the smallest amount of energy turns a soft material into the hardest one we know. It turns a light blocking pencil lead into a light conducting diamond. It turns an electrically conductive pencil lead into an electrically isolating crystal. Both materials are stable. Both come from the exact same molecule. Both have the exact same number of electrons, neutrons, and protons. The only difference is that one of the electrons within each carbon atom has been pushed outward one orbit, and that to hold it there, a quantity of energy had to be applied to the molecule. The Earth applies this additional energy in the form of tectonic pressure. That's it. And since all energy is frequency, we could say that the difference between a diamond and a pencil lead is a smallest change in frequency possible, the smallest change in resonance. Just as a violin can go from unbearable to incredibly pleasant, with a small amount of pencil lead is transformed into a beautiful crystal thanks to a small energetic shift. And the same applies to the whole of what we observe all around us. In part 3, I described how we can modulate our own energy to shift between realities, to change timelines. I also talked about the fact that our low consciousness limits our ability to understand the universe, and as a result, we are forced to experience everything frame by frame through the lens of what we call time. Time is no more than individual frames, individual snapshots of our complete experience. With a higher consciousness, we could digest information in larger blocks of time until the point where we no longer need time at all. A being of the highest consciousness does not experience time. People who have had a near-death experience often talk about time disappearing during their experience, during their travel. And just as time aids our interpretation, so does space. Space is necessary for us to comprehend our life experience. In fact, quantum physics considers time and space as non-existent. To them, to physicists, everything that exists in the universe is here and now. This is a tremendously important point to remember. Everything is here and now. All of the universe's past, present, and future are here now. Every inch of space within this vast universe is here now. Therefore, all that's needed for us to travel to a different planet is to stay here now, but just change our vibration to one that matches the desired destination, which is also here now. Of course, that we would first need to know the resonant characteristic of planet Earth, our home, and the resonant characteristic of the planet we wish to visit, in order to know what part of our resonant structure to change. Likewise, all that we would need in order to travel in time is to know the resonance of the today and the resonance of the time we want to visit. We could then change our present resonance to one that incorporates the coded resonance of the time we wish to visit. In part 3, I used the analogy of a radio. I describe how changing frequency takes us from the world of 80s pop music to, say, the world of contemporary Latin music, two different worlds inside the same radio. This is exactly how time and space travel works. Clearly, we are infants in the art of changing our characteristic resonance. As we ascend, we will get much better at it. For now, there is a part of our body that can easily change its resonance, independently of the rest of us. We're talking about the pineal gland. Perhaps it is unsurprising that the control system targets this part of our anatomy. The pineal gland becomes rigid and ineffective. It becomes calcified after consumption of fluoride in tap water, in bottled water for infants, in toothpaste, in mouthwash, and as an additive offered by our friendly yet misinformed personal dentist. Both the Russian Revolution and the Nazis gave concentration camp prisoners fluoride through water. This made prisoners more docile. But adding fluoride into what we consume is not all that the control system does to affect our pineal gland. The pineal gland's function is also undermined by aluminum, or aluminium as my British friends say. All vaccines come loaded with bioaccessible aluminum, of the kind that easily penetrates through the brain barrier. This should explain why mass media, politicians, and entertainers, those people we love so much, go after anyone opposing vaccines. And when vaccines are not enough, our cities are sprayed with pollutants such as aluminum on a daily basis through a bioengineering method known as chemtrails. When airplanes fly overhead, a short vapor tail follows the craft. This tail evaporates soon after the airplane flies away. A chemtrail, on the other hand, is a chemical trail being sprayed over the whole path followed by the craft. This resembles chemical crop spraying, but at a much higher altitude. When you look up to the sky and see many crisscross paths, you're not looking at vapor, but at chemical and metal fallout. Today, the military has started to spray at much higher altitudes as a way to hide their chemtrails. I guess too many people like me complained. But the shiny haze from the aluminum particles still blankets the whole sky. You can still see it. The public battle against our pineal gland results from the fact that it is our connection to God, our connection to the rest of the universe. René Descartes, the French philosopher, once said, when talking about the pineal gland, and I quote, "This gland is the principal seat of the soul," end quote. The fact is that our pineal gland, also known as our third eye, can help us travel to any place and anytime. It makes us time travelers, literally. It holds the resonant code of who we are, the when we are, and the where we are. It already knows what our characteristic resonance is. Within this information, the pineal gland has encoded our historical timeline. All it has to do is to change the dial from the frequency of today to one in the past. And whatever the third eye sees and experiences during such travel, it becomes the information that is then passed to the neocortex of our brain for our interpretation. We do not hold long-term memories inside of our very limited heads. Scientists struggle to understand where it is that we hold long-term memories. They don't know how we do it. Their best description is that we experience a chemical process that stores the information. But that's it. That is the best they have. It sounds more like religious faith than science. They know that short-term memories create neural activities, actions within our neocortex. The neocortex is the logical part of the brain that separates us from most animals. This is where we make our conscious decisions. The neocortex is what makes us special. But think about it. The mighty neocortex is only capable of holding memories with a short shelf life. Short-term memories disappear quickly. On the other hand, scientists know that long-term memories create activity not inside the neocortex, but within the limbic system of the brain. You see, the limbic system is a small part of the brain. It is a section that is anything but special. In fact, it is common across the animal kingdom. The limbic system is where emotions reside. This is where the pineal gland is located. Short-term memory, the memory that does not last, uses the big part of the brain. Meanwhile, long-term memory, the part that is full of images, thoughts, smells, and tastes, memories that last all of our lives, uses the small and inspiring part of the brain. Just as we saw in part 4 and part 6. Grounded emotions play a superior role over that of rationality. What scientists miss when studying long-term memory is that the limbic system is not where we store our memories. Instead, it is simply where long-term memories enter our body, to then be distributed through the rest of the brain. Just as light images enter through our eyes and are later passed to the rest of the brain for interpretation. Just as odors enter through our nose to then be passed to the rest of our brain for interpretation. Just as sounds enter our ears to then be passed to the rest of the brain for interpretation. So, do memories enter our pineal gland to then be passed to the rest of the brain for interpretation? Yes. And why not? Everything in the universe is elegant. The universe is sufficient. Why would we hold every memory of all that surrounds us every second of time while being unable to process it all as we record it? Remember, Our consciousness isn't high enough to process everything that surrounds us. We previously discussed about our limited consciousness. Why then would we burden our brain with not only the present, which we can't handle, but with all previous moments in time? We just said we don't have the consciousness to hold, to process an experience without the aid of time. Especially when all of our past is held here and now by the universe. By vibrating to our childhood, our pineal gland let us re-experience the events of that time. Because the limbic system is where our emotions reside, all our memories are highly emotional in nature. Try this. Tell a friend small details about a moment in time when you were both together in the past. Details like other people present, where the event took place, and any sounds or smells from the moment. Then wait and see how your friend will fill in the rest of the details. This works because each detail that you describe has a resonance. There is also your and her resonances. Add them all together, all these resonances together. This becomes a frequency code to the specific time and place that you both shared in the past. That is how time travel takes place within the pineal gland. All we need is a frequency code to that past. And it is this frequency code that is the only thing that we need to hold in memory in order to visit the past. Not the whole thing, but just the code. We do not need to hold the images, odors, sounds, and emotions of all of our life because the universe already holds them for us. We just need to take temporary peeks through the lens of time, through our third eye, through our pineal gland. We are time travelers. So what happens after we have already shifted across timelines? Remember we discussed the Mandela effect? Well, if we traveled across timelines because of our ascension process, because of shifting our frequency, we can travel back to the past that corresponds to our present timeline or to any previous timeline we had. That, of course, is assuming that we would have enough consciousness to handle the whole information together at once. I previously said how the universe gives us what we are ready for, what we need. For people who change timelines accidentally, therefore, not due to reaching a higher frequency and not due to having a higher consciousness, again, by chance, by accident or chance, they will simply have no memories that match their present timeline. They will always revert to the one they had. This then brings another question for us to ponder about. Could we see other people's memories? Could we see their timeline? The answer is yes. Those of us who are very empathic should be able to tune into other people and their frequency code. We should find it easy to resonate to the same frequency of others. So, by connecting, by visualizing the characteristic resonance of others, we should then travel via our pineal gland, via our third eye, to their past. This is similar to what happens during remote viewing. I've conducted successful remote viewing sessions where group members get no more than my intention encoded in a random number. Group members get zero descriptions about the target location. The goal is for these group members to tune into my intention to then use it as a frequency code that will take their third eye to surprising remote places around the globe. Once there, they have to discern whether there are man-made structures in the area, for example. They need to describe the weather, the colors surrounding the target location, etc., etc. In some cases, they also have to travel to the past to experience the events that gave birth to what they were observing already as part of that remote viewing session. They do this by using their emotional tools, by using their limbic system, by using their pineal gland. So, can we see the future? Yes. Traveling in time and space requires only the code. Find the code and you will get open access to anywhere and anything, anytime. All is possible through the understanding of resonance. This is one of the many reasons why meditation is essential. Meditation quiets the programmed mind. It allows us to listen, to connect to what the universe says. In part 6, we talked about the highest states of consciousness. We saw the importance of love and joy. Well, love and joy are frequencies of paramount importance. Before time and space travel, open your heart and find joy. Thank you.